Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well, as always. I hope you're all staying cool as well. I don't know about anywhere else, but it's been very hot here. But yeah, for this video, I figured that I would try and do like a couple unsolved murder cases where one of them has like almost like a supernatural side to it. So, we're gonna get into that. And if you want to support the channel, you can in the description. You can support it for like $3 or whatever's in the link. Anyways, let's jump into the video. Thank you all for watching. Pull up a stump and let's jump into it. It seems that in this world of ours, we find that reality is often stranger than fiction. I think that almost everyone has had experiences, whether they remember them or not, of things that we would consider outside the realm of the mundane. Things like this are what brings us to the strange case of Katherine Hobbs. So early in her life, Kathy was like any other kid. She didn't really have a care in the world and was, as people say today, just vibing. However, this started to change when Kathy reached the age of 8. Kathy's parents got divorced. To a little girl like this, you can imagine the effect it would have on a child. This was especially so since she was so close to her father. And as if this wasn't enough, a few years later, her best friend died of a heart condition when they were just in middle school. So there's already a lot of trauma going along there. And as we know from our own experiences and from science, trauma can have very erratic and crazy effects on people. So an environment change was probably one of the good things for her. Kathy and her sister Teresa moved with their mother to a residential apartment complex in a suburb in Las Vegas, Nevada. However, this unfortunately was not a cure-all, and Kathy still thought a lot about death and mortality, and she began to have what she thought were premonitions of the future, a future that involved her own demise. She would have very disturbing visions of herself not living past 16 years of age. As one can imagine, thinking like this can cripple you with panic, anxiety, depression, and a host of other issues and traumas. For a while though, she did try to adjust to her new surroundings, but as her 16th birthday crept closer, these visions and thoughts of her own death would return, and she is quoted by her mother as getting very teary-eyed one night and telling her mother, Vivian, "Mom, I don't want to get any older. I want to be a little girl." Her mother tries to reassure her, "Kathy, we all have to grow up. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but we all do it." Kathy replied to her by saying, "I'm not going to." She still did not think she would make it past her 16th birthday. But, as Kathy awoke on April 20th, her birthday, she realized that she was indeed still alive. She was 16 and alive. As the day came and went, she was overjoyed and her confidence began to grow. She became more sure of herself and more sure that her visions that she had all these years were actually wrong. She overcame her fears, mingled with people, and as time passed, began living a normal life of a 16-year-old girl. Kathy spent some more time with her friends and began to wear makeup and took a liking to beauty products. She decided that she would pursue a career as a beautician. The name she had for her future business was Cat's Cuts. Kathy was beginning to blossom. But this changed on the night of July 23rd, 1987. Kathy disappeared without a trace. Kathy was reading a book in her room at around 11 p.m., and she told her mother that she was going to go to the supermarket nearby to buy another book. The supermarket wasn't far, and her mother Vivian believed Kathy would go with some friends to the store as she usually did. Apparently, after finding none of her friends, she opted to go alone. At 3 a.m., her mother was woken from a strange dream. She felt she had been hit on the head. She soon realized that the nightmare had passed, and she calmly went back to sleep. The next morning, her horror continued when she found Kathy's room was empty. She contacted the police to report the matter, and an extensive search was undertaken. The night Kathy disappeared, her mother was quoted as saying, "She came out to me and said, 'Mom, I'm going to the store to buy a book. Give me a kiss before I go.' And I said, 'Why? I'll be up when you get back.' And she said, 'Well, I'll probably stop and talk to the kids, so you might be in bed when I get back.' so I gave her a kiss, and that was the last time I saw her. There were many speculative theories about murder or abduction. The local media picked up the story and voluntary organizations were formed to search for Kathy. The police questioned an employee of the store who said that he remembered selling a book to her, and she appeared normal and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Receipts at the store did indeed say that someone had purchased a book at 11:17 p.m. that night. There was also some evidence that she had visited the store at Desert Inn Road and Maryland Parkway, but after that, nothing. The belief was that she was abducted. Strangely, despite the area being a high population, there were no witnesses. 9 days later, a hiker was searching for rock crystals in a remote field near Lake Mead, about an hour drive from Las Vegas, and he found a body. There were 2 nearby rocks that were splattered with blood. Investigators found tire prints at the scene. The prints showed that a vehicle had pulled in, turned around, and left. The blood on the rocks matched Kathy's blood type. It was concluded that she died from numerous severe blows to the head. She was only 3 months past her 16th birthday. After her death, several letters were found in her room, each addressed to a different family member. The letters were dated 1 month before her 16th birthday. The letter to her mother reads, "Dear Mother, in the event of my death, you shall get this letter. I hope you live happily, and I don't want you or anyone else to dwell on my death. I love you all very dearly. You were good to me, and no one else could have been a better mother. Keep me alive in your heart, and don't ever forget me. Love always, Kathy." 3 months later, authorities received a message on an answering machine from an anonymous person who claimed to have witnessed the abduction. The caller gave the abduction's exact location, an accurate description of the dress she wore that night. He also claimed one of the abductors' names was Robbie. He did not report it because he was out of town for several months. Quotes. Authorities believed that she had been abducted by 2 or more people between her apartment and the store, then was driven to the lake and killed. The caller's info matched their theory. He also gave a license plate number, supposedly, of the vehicle. When police ran the number, however, it did not exist. The case was eventually closed, as there was no way to trace the witness. Kathy was featured on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries in 1989. Police had linked her murder to a serial killer named Michael Lee Lockhart from Walbridge, Ohio. He had become the main suspect. He was arrested for other murders, then convicted and executed in 1997 in Texas. So what do you think happened here? Did her premonition come true? Or was it just an unbelievable coincidence? What about the feeling her mother had about being hit in the head? Do you think that the anonymous caller was the one who killed her and was leading the police on a chase? Let me know your theory. This case takes us all the way to Fox Chase in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And for this murder, we have to go all the way back to 1957. In February of 1957, a man named John Stashowiak was out checking his muskrat traps. He was on the Susquehanna Road in Fox Chase, Philadelphia, and found a J.C. Penney bassinet box. Inside was the horrifying discovery of a deceased child. The boy, no more than 4 to 6 years old, was naked and had signs of severe malnourishment, as well as surgical scars on the ankle and groin, along with an L-shaped scar under his chin. The boy's hair looked as though it had been cut after his death, as there were clumps of hair still on the body. Unfortunately, fearing that the police would confiscate his traps, John did not report the finding to the police. A few days later, though, another person, a college student named Frank Guthrum, spotted a rabbit running into the underbrush. He knew there were traps in the area, so he stopped to investigate. He too discovered the body. Frank was also reluctant to have any contact with the police, but he did report it after hearing of the recent disappearance of someone else, Mary Jane Baker. Police received the report on the 26th of that February and opened an investigation. Fingerprints were taken from the body, and police were at first optimistic that he would soon be identified. However, he never was. The mystery did, however, capture media attention in Philadelphia, along with the Delaware Valley. The Philadelphia Inquirer printed 400,000 flyers depicting a picture of the boy. Those flyers were sent out and posted all across the area and were put in with every gas bill in the city. 270 police academy recruits combed the area many times. They found a blue corduroy hat, a child's scarf, a white handkerchief with the letter G in the corner. Every single clue was a dead end. Police also distributed a post-mortem photo of the boy, sitting in an upright position. Despite sporadic interest through the decades, the case is still unsolved. In March of 2016, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released a forensic facial reconstruction of the victim and added him into their database. In August of 2018, Barbara Ray Venter, the genetic genealogist who helped identify the Golden State Killer using a DNA profiling technique, said that she was going to use the same method to try and identify the boy in the box. Amateur groups that use online databases such as the Doe Network and Web Sleuths have also tried to solve his identity. The boy's murder and subsequent finding of his body was not without its own theories, however. There are three more notable ones. One of these theories was that the boy was from a foster home that was 2.5 kilometers away or 1.5 miles from the site of the body. In 1960, Remington Bristow, an employee of the medical examiner's office who pursued the case until his death in 1993, contacted a psychic who told him to look for a house that matched a foster home. When the psychic was brought to the Philadelphia Discovery site, she led Bristow directly to the foster home. The guy decided to attend the estate sale that was at the foster home. He discovered a bassinet similar to the one sold at J.C. Penney, which could explain the box that the boy was found in. He also discovered blankets hanging on the clothesline that were very similar to the one in which the boy's body had been wrapped in when they found him. He also believed that the boy was actually the son of the stepdaughter of the man who ran the foster home, and that they were the ones that disposed of his body, so the stepdaughter would not be exposed as an unwed mother, which was a very taboo thing at the time. He did theorize that the boy's death had actually been an accident, and this was just how they disposed of the body. However, though, despite this circumstantial evidence, the police couldn't find any definite link between the boy and the foster family and the boy in the foster home and all that stuff, so the case remained cold. In 1998, the members of the foster home, like the father and stepdaughter, were interviewed, and the foster home investigation was closed. And I don't know how it is in other parts of the world, but I found it a little weird that the father married his stepdaughter. Just throwing that in there. In 2002, there was another theory that was brought forth by a woman that only identified herself as Martha. Now, police considered her story to be plausible, but were a little troubled by her testimony, as she had a history of mental illness and making false claims. Martha, or M, claimed that her abusive mother had bought the boy, and she said that his real name was Jonathan, and that they bought him from the birth family in the summer of 1954, and the boy was subjected to extreme physical and sexual abuse for 2.5 years. One evening at dinner, the boy vomited up his meal of baked beans and was given a severe beating, with his head slammed against the floor until he was semi-conscious. He was given a bath, during which he died. These details matched information known only to police, and the coroner did find leftovers of baked beans in the boy's stomach, and that his fingers were also water-wrinkled as well. Martha said that her mother had cut the boy's distinctive long hair, which accounted for the unprofessional haircut and why the hair was still on the boy. This was in an effort to conceal his identity. M's mother forced M to assist her in dumping the boy's body in the Fox Chase area. She said that they were preparing to remove the body from a trunk of a car when a passing male motorist pulled alongside to inquire whether they needed help or not. and was ordered to stand in front of the car's license plate to obscure it from view. The man did eventually drive off, and this story did kind of go with the testimony given by a male witness in 1957 who said that the body had been placed in a box that was previously discarded at the scene. And in spite of the outward believability of her confession, they were unable to verify her story, and neighbors who had access to M's house during the stated time period said that there was never actually a young boy living there, and her claims were dismissed after that. One other theory was that a forensic artist named Frank Bender thought that the victim may have been raised as a girl. The child's unprofessional haircut, which appeared to have been performed in haste or in a state of panic, was the basis for this scenario. In 2016, two writers, Jim Hoffman from Los Angeles and Louis Romano from New Jersey, explained that they believed they discovered a potential identity from Memphis, and they requested that DNA from the child be compared to the family members. The lead was originally discovered by a Philadelphia man who introduced Romano and Hoffman to each other. However, as with all of these, it ended up being that there was no match, no connection at all. The boy in the box was originally buried in Potter's Field. In 1998, the body was exhumed for the purpose of extracting DNA, which was obtained from the enamel of a tooth, and then was reburied at Ivy Hill Cemetery in Cedar Brook, Philadelphia, which donated a large plot for the boy. The coffin and headstone and funeral were all donated by the son of the man who had buried the boy in 1957. There was a lot of people that showed up there. There was a lot of attendance and media coverage at the reburial. The grave now has a huge headstone bearing the words, "America's Unknown Child." So what do you think about that case? Do you think that Martha's testimony was actually accurate? Do you think it was the foster home? Or do you think it was something else? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. And I hope you all have a good day. Thank you for pulling up a stump, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.